The stars shimmered in the darkness of space as the massive Kelvary ship approached the edge of Earth's solar system. On the command deck, Fleet Admiral Ilara stood with her 4 arms folded behind her back, her scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the ship's monitors. She stared at the holographic display showing the third planet from the sun. "So this is Earth," she said, her voice low and rasping. "Home to the species known as humans." "Yes, Admiral," replied her second-in-command. "Our scans show they have basic space travel capabilities. Nothing impressive. Just a few colonies on their neighboring planet, and one of their gas giant's moons." Ilara's mouth curled into what passed for a smile among the Kelvary. "Perfect. The collective will be pleased. This system has abundant resources, and the natives won't pose any significant challenge." Across the solar system, astronaut Jack Pearson floated in the observation module of the International Mars Station. His eyes were fixed on a peculiar reading on his monitor. He'd been tracking an unknown object at the edge of the system for the past hour. "Olivia, are you seeing this?" Jack called through his comlink. Dr. Olivia Grant pushed away from her workstation and glided through the station's low gravity to join Jack. Her brown hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes narrowed as she studied the readings. "That's not one of ours," she said, tapping commands into the console. "The size is enormous, and it's moving too precisely to be a natural object." Jack nodded, feeling a chill run down his spine. "I think we need to contact Earth immediately." Within hours, the mysterious signal was confirmed by other space stations and observatories. Emergency meetings were called in capitals around the world. In Washington, D.C., Director Henry Wood of the newly formed United Earth Council paced the floor of the crisis room. "What are we looking at, people? I need answers," he demanded, his voice steady despite the tension filling the room. "Sir, all evidence points to an artificial craft of non-human origin," replied the NASA director. "We're looking at first contact." The room fell silent. Centuries of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, and now they had their answer. Back on the Kelvary ship, Admiral Ilara reviewed the intelligence report. "These humans are physically weak," she noted. "Their bodies lack natural armor. They have only 2 arms, and their technology is primitive compared to ours. The collective has conquered worlds far more advanced." "Shall we prepare the invasion fleet, Admiral?" asked her officer. "Not yet," Ilara replied. "The collective prefers to avoid unnecessary destruction. Send Ambassador Zorith to establish diplomatic contact. Let's see if these humans will surrender their resources willingly." Ambassador Zorith, a slender Kelvary with decorative markings on his scales, bowed. "As you command, Admiral. I will make preparations immediately." On Earth, the news of an approaching alien vessel spread rapidly, panic mixed with excitement and fear. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, but there was little they could do against a civilization capable of interstellar travel. Jack Pearson and Dr. Grant were recalled to Earth as consultants due to their first detection of the alien presence. They sat in a secured briefing room at the Pentagon alongside Director Wood and military officials. "We need to prepare for any possibility," Jack said. "We don't know their intentions." Director Wood nodded. "The United Nations has authorized me to speak for Earth if contact is made. We'll approach this peacefully, but we're not naive." Dr. Grant studied the latest data from their space telescopes. "They've slowed their approach and launched a smaller vessel. I think they're coming to talk." As dawn broke over New York City, millions looked up to see a gleaming ship descending through the clouds. It came to hover over the United Nations headquarters, its metallic surface reflecting the morning sun. In the Kelvary diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Zorith prepared for his role. "Remember," he told his team, "we only need to keep them docile until the fleet arrives. These primitive beings will be grateful for the technology we offer in exchange for their resources. Soon, Earth will be another jewel in the collective's crown." The Kelveri had no idea they were about to make the greatest mistake in their species' history. The United Nations building was surrounded by security forces as the Kelveri ship hovered above. People gathered behind barriers, their phones raised to capture humanity's first official meeting with aliens. Inside, Director Henry Wood waited with a small team of Earth's representatives. The Kelveri delegation entered the chamber, and a collective gasp filled the room. Ambassador Zorith stood 7 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and scaly blue-green skin. His eyes were large and yellow with vertical pupils. Behind him walked 4 other Kelveri, each wearing what appeared to be living technology attached to their bodies. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you," Director Wood said, stepping forward with his hand extended. Ambassador Zorith looked at the outstretched hand with confusion before recalling the human custom. He extended one of his lower arms. "The Kelveri Collective sends greetings to your world." The meeting lasted for hours. The Kelveri showed videos of their civilization. Massive cities that floated in the air, ships that traveled between stars, and technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. "We wish to establish peaceful relations," Ambassador Zorith said smoothly. "We offer to share some of our technology in exchange for mining rights on your moon and in your oceans, resources that would benefit both our peoples." Director Wood's face remained neutral, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "That's a generous offer, Ambassador. We'll need time to discuss this with all Earth nations." After the meeting, Jack Pearson and Dr. Olivia Grant were called to a private room to share their thoughts. "They're holding back," Jack said immediately. "I study their ship's movements. They have at least 3 larger vessels hiding behind Jupiter. Why hide them if they come in peace?" Dr. Grant nodded. "Their biology is fascinating, but did you notice their weapons? They tried to make them look decorative, but I recognize killing tools when I see them." Director Wood sighed. "I felt it too. They see us as children, primitive. The question is, what do they really want?" Back on the main Kelveri ship, Ambassador Zorith reported to Admiral Ilara. "The humans are even more primitive than we thought. They were amazed by technology we considered outdated centuries ago." "What about their defenses?" Ilara asked. "Minimal. Their weapons use basic projectiles or crude explosives. Their most advanced aircraft would be no match for even our smallest fighters." Ilara's lips curved into a smile. "Excellent. The collective will be pleased. Prepare for Phase 2. On Earth, governments around the world debated the Kelveri offer. Some nations wanted to accept immediately, eager for advanced technology. Others were more cautious. Jack Pearson couldn't sleep. Something about the Kelveri bothered him deeply. He accessed the secure terminal in his apartment and began reviewing all communications from the aliens. After hours of work, he noticed a pattern. "They're using 2 different communication systems," he muttered to himself. "One for talking to us, and another among themselves." He called Dr. Grant immediately. "Olivia, I need your help decoding something." Together, they worked through the night, and by morning they had translated fragments of the Kelveri's private communications. "We need to see Director Wood right now," Jack said, his face pale. They were escorted to the United Earth Council headquarters, where Director Wood was in an emergency meeting. He stepped out to meet them. "This better be important," he said. Jack handed him a tablet. "The Kelveri are planning an invasion. They're just stalling while they position their fleet. They'll attack within 48 hours. Director Wood read the translated messages, his expression growing grim. "Are you absolutely certain?" "Yes," Dr. Grant said. "They see us as a resource to be harvested. They've done this to other worlds." Director Wood looked out the window at the Kelveri diplomatic ship that still hovered near the UN building. "Then we need to prepare, quietly." On the main Kelveri vessel, Admiral Ilara addressed her commanders. "The invasion will begin tomorrow. Our forces will target their major cities simultaneously. Their primitive weapons cannot harm our ships." A young officer spoke up. "Admiral, should we study more of their history?" Some of our scouts report that humans have fought many wars among themselves. Admiral Ilara laughed. What could we possibly learn from watching primitives kill each other with sticks and stones? They have never faced the might of the Kelveri Collective. They will surrender within hours. It would be the worst miscalculation of her career. The attack began at dawn. Kelveri ships appeared in the skies above every major city on Earth. Before most humans even woke up, the aliens fired electromagnetic pulse weapons that shut down power grids and disabled electronics across entire regions. Admiral Ilara watched from her command ship. Send the message to their leaders. Tell them to surrender now or face total destruction. But the response she expected never came. Instead of immediate surrender, the humans fought back. In Chicago, Colonel Amy Nichols had prepared her soldiers. Thanks to the warning from Jack Pearson and Dr. Grant, they had shielded critical equipment and moved forces into position. When the Kelveri ground troops landed, expecting to walk unopposed through the powerless city, they met fierce resistance. "Hold your positions," Colonel Nichols shouted as she fired her rifle from behind an overturned truck. The Kelveri soldiers, tall and imposing in their living armor, advanced down Michigan Avenue. They seemed shocked when bullets pierced their armor. "They bleed," Colonel Nichols called to her troops. "They're not gods. They can die just like us." Across the city, civilians who had been warned joined the fight. They used hunting rifles, homemade explosives, and even bows and arrows. The Kelveri, who had expected to find helpless primitives, instead found determined fighters who knew the city streets better than they did. In Washington, D.C., Director Wood operated from a bunker deep underground. Earth's military leaders had enacted a plan they called scattered response. Instead of trying to match the aliens' superior technology head-on, they broke into small, mobile units that struck quickly and then disappeared. "What's our status?" Director Wood asked. "The Kelveri have taken parts of 12 major cities," replied a general. "But they're taking heavy losses. They don't seem to understand guerrilla warfare." Jack Pearson had joined a civilian resistance group in Los Angeles. They used old radios and battery-powered devices that had survived the EMP attacks to coordinate their efforts. "The Kelveri expect us to fight like they do," Jack told his group. "They fight in formation, following strict rules. We need to be unpredictable." At a hidden lab outside Boston, Dr. Olivia Grant made an important discovery. She had been studying a dead Kelveri soldier when she noticed something strange. "Their armor is alive," she told her research team. "It's connected to their bodies, and it's vulnerable to certain bacteria found on Earth." She quickly developed a spray that could weaken the Kelveri armor. It wasn't a perfect weapon, but it gave human fighters a better chance. On the Kelveri command ship, Admiral Ilara couldn't understand what was happening. "How are these primitives still fighting? We destroyed their power grid. We have superior weapons." "Admiral," her second-in-command reported, "the humans are adapting to our tactics faster than expected. They're using simple weapons that don't require their power grid. And they seem to fight more effectively in chaos than our troops do." "Impossible," Ilara hissed. "Send in the second wave. Use the plasma cannons on their military bases." But even this escalation didn't break human resistance. When the Kelveri destroyed military bases, the surviving soldiers simply joined civilian resistance groups. There was no central point to attack, no way to force a surrender. After 2 weeks of fighting, the Kelveri held only portions of major cities. Their casualties were far higher than expected, and supply lines were constantly disrupted by human attacks. In a rare moment of doubt, Admiral Ilara accessed the human information network that their technicians had managed to partially restore. She began to read human history, specifically their wars. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through file after file. Thousands of years of conflict, countless battles, endless adaptations to new weapons and tactics. "We made a terrible mistake," she whispered. "These aren't primitives who don't understand war." She looked up at the holographic display of Earth, now marked with battle zones. These creatures have been practicing war on each other for their entire history. For the first time, Admiral Ilara felt something she hadn't experienced in her long military career. Fear. 6 months into the war, Earth had changed. Smoke rose from damaged cities, and Kelveri ships still patrolled the skies. But the easy victory Admiral Ilara had promised her superiors never came. Instead, humans fought with a ferocity that shocked the invaders. Major Kyle Rivera led a team of engineers who worked day and night in an underground facility in Arizona. They had captured Kelveri technology and were taking it apart, learning its secrets. "Look at this," Major Rivera said, holding up a small device from a Kelveri ship. "Their anti-gravity system is actually quite simple once you understand the basic principles." His team had already built 5 working prototypes of vehicles that could move silently over any terrain, invisible to Kelveri sensors. These vehicles were now being used to strike Kelveri bases across North America. In her lab, Dr. Olivia Grant had gone further with her research on Kelveri biology. Their living armor connects directly to their nervous system. She explained to Director Wood during a secure video call. "I've developed a compound that disrupts that connection without harming humans." The compound was soon added to water supplies near Kelveri strongholds. When the aliens consumed the water, their armor became less responsive, making them vulnerable to human attacks. On the Kelveri command ship, Admiral Ilara received bad news daily. Her forces held only a few major cities, and even those were constantly under attack from human resistance fighters. "How is this possible?" she demanded. "We've conquered 17 other species. None fought like this." Her intelligence officer presented new information. "Admiral, we've analyzed their communication patterns. The humans don't have a central command structure. Each resistance group operates independently but somehow coordinates with others. When we cut off one group, 3 more appear." Ilara had spent weeks studying human history now. She'd learned about their world wars, about guerrilla tactics, about how humans had spent centuries fighting each other. While the Kelveri had evolved to fight as a unified force, humans had evolved to fight in chaos. "Send a message to the High Command," Ilara ordered. "Request reinforcements. Tell them this conquest will require more resources than initially estimated." On Earth, Jack Pearson prepared for his most dangerous mission yet. For months, he had worked with a team of former military personnel and civilian hackers to study Kelveri communication patterns. They had identified a weakness. "The Kelveri mothership adjusts its shields every 6 hours," Jack explained to his team. "There's a 2-minute window when they're vulnerable. We can get a small team aboard." Colonel Amy Nichols, now leading all resistance forces in the Midwest, joined the call. "If you can get aboard, what's the objective?" "Their tactical database," Jack replied. "Dr. Grant believes their entire battle plan is stored there. With that information, we could predict their movements, maybe even access their command codes." The mission was set for midnight. 5 humans in stolen Kelveri armor suits approached the mothership in a captured shuttle. Jack Pearson led them, his heart racing as they passed through the shield during the brief window. "Remember," he whispered to his team, "we have 30 minutes to reach the central database. Copy the information and get back to the shuttle." The inside of the Kelveri ship was vast, with curved hallways and strange lighting that pulsed like a heartbeat. The human team moved silently, avoiding patrols. When they couldn't avoid contact, Dr. Grant's compound proved effective, disabling the Kelveri guard silently. In the central database chamber, Jack connected a device developed by Major Rivera. It began copying the Kelveri tactical information immediately. 5 minutes until the next patrol, warned one of his team members. Jack watched as the data transferred. Images, battle plans, and something unexpected. Information about other alien species the Kelveri had conquered. He saw that Earth was not the first world to resist, but it was the first to resist successfully for this long. An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. "We've been detected," Jack said. "Grab what we have and move." The team fought their way back to the shuttle, losing 2 members in the process. As they escaped, Kelveri ships fired on them, but Major Rivera's modifications to their stolen shuttle allowed them to evade and return to Earth. The data they brought back would change the course of the war. For the first time, humanity would have the advantage. The data stolen from the Kelveri mothership changed everything. Director Wood gathered Earth's military leaders in the underground command center to review what Jack Pearson's team had recovered. "This is their entire battle plan," Director Wood said, pointing to the large screen showing Kelveri ship movements. "We now know where they'll attack next, how many ships they have, and most importantly, how their command structure works." Colonel Amy Nichols studied the information carefully. "They're planning a major attack on New York City in 3 days. They want to make it their central base on Earth. Then we'll be ready for them," Director Wood replied. "For the first time, we can prepare a proper welcome." The next day, human forces began to quietly position themselves around New York. They moved under cover of night, using Major Rivera's stealth vehicles. Civilians were evacuated through underground tunnels. Special teams equipped with Dr. Grant's anti-armor compound took positions in key buildings. When the Kelveri attack began, Admiral Ilara watched from her command ship, expecting another difficult but eventually successful battle. What happened instead shocked her. The moment her forces landed, they were hit from all sides. Humans seemed to know exactly where the Kelveri troops would be. Anti-armor compound rained down from buildings. Stealth vehicles appeared from nowhere, striking and disappearing before the Kelveri could respond. Colonel Nichols led the main counterattack, pushing directly into the heart of the Kelveri landing zone. "Keep moving forward," she shouted to her soldiers. "They didn't expect us to know their plans. We have the advantage." By sunset, the Kelveri forces were in full retreat. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had completely driven the aliens out of a major city. Similar victories followed in other cities around the world. Humans used the stolen tactical data to predict Kelveri movements and set traps. The invaders, used to fighting by strict rules and patterns, couldn't adapt quickly enough. In a secure facility, Ambassador Zorith sat in a cell. After the invasion began, he had been captured while trying to escape Earth. Now, Director Wood came to speak with him. "Your forces are losing, Ambassador," Director Wood said simply. "We've recaptured 6 major cities in the past week." Zorith's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible. No species has ever defeated the Kelveri Collective." "Perhaps that's because you've never encountered humans before," Director Wood replied. "You came to our world thinking we were primitive because our technology isn't as advanced as yours. But we've been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We know how to adapt, how to use our enemy's strength against them." For the first time, doubt showed on Zorith's face. "The High Command is sending reinforcements. You cannot win." "We already are winning," Director Wood said. "And now I want to talk about peace terms." Zorith laughed. "The Collective does not surrender." "Then the Collective will be defeated for the first time in its history," Director Wood replied calmly. On the Kelveri command ship, Admiral Ilara faced a crisis. Half of her invasion force had been destroyed or captured. The humans were now using Kelveri weapons and vehicles against them. And worst of all, the reinforcements from the High Command were still weeks away. "We must change our strategy," she told her commanders. "These humans do not fight like any species we've encountered before. They learn too quickly, adapt too well." Her science officer had made another disturbing discovery. "Admiral, we've detected that the humans are attempting to access our communication network. They appear to be trying to send false orders to our troops." This confirmed Ilara's worst fears. Dr. Olivia Grant had been working with Major Rivera to understand the Kelveri command structure. They discovered that Kelveri soldiers were partially connected through a network similar to a hive mind. This allowed them to coordinate perfectly in battle, but it also created a vulnerability. "They're trying to hack our battle network," Ilara realized. "If they succeed, they could disrupt our entire force with false commands." She made a difficult decision. Prepare the ships for orbital bombardment. If we cannot take this planet, we will make sure no one can have it. What Ilara didn't know was that Jack Pearson had placed a listening device on the mothership during his mission. Humans heard every word of her desperate plan. Jack Pearson rushed the recording of Admiral Ilara's orbital bombardment plan to Director Wood. Within hours, all human resistance leaders knew that the Kelveri planned to destroy Earth rather than accept defeat. We have less than 48 hours before their ships move into position, Director Wood told the Emergency Council. We need to stop them before they can fire those weapons. Major Rivera stood up. Sir, it's time to reveal our secret project. For the past 3 months, engineers and scientists around the world had been building something in hidden facilities deep underground. Using reverse-engineered Kelveri technology, they had constructed a small fleet of human spaceships. The UES Defiance is ready, Major Rivera said, along with 5 smaller craft. They're not as advanced as Kelveri ships, but we've added some human improvements they won't expect. Jack Pearson volunteered to captain the Defiance. As a former astronaut, he had the most space experience of any available pilot. Colonel Amy Nichols would lead the ground assault on the main Kelveri base in what was once Los Angeles. Dr. Olivia Grant had made one final breakthrough. The Kelveri ships are connected to their commanders through the same network as their troops, she explained. If we can upload this virus into their main system, it will disrupt their ability to coordinate. The night before the mission, Jack visited the cell where Ambassador Zorith was being held. The Kelveri looked up with surprise when Jack entered. Why are you here, human? Zorith asked. To understand, Jack replied. Why did you attack us? We could have been allies. Zorith's expression changed, showing something like regret. The collective has existed for 10,000 years. We've conquered every species we've encountered. It's what we do. And tomorrow, for the first time, you'll lose, Jack said. Zorith was silent for a moment. Perhaps that would not be such a bad thing. The collective has forgotten how to do anything but conquer. At dawn, the human fleet launched from hidden bases around the world. The UES Defiance, a sleek ship that combined Kelveri technology with human design, led the way. Jack Pearson felt the pull of acceleration as they rose through the atmosphere toward the Kelveri command ships. All ships report ready, said his communications officer. Colonel Nichols' ground forces are in position as well. In space, the Kelveri ships were preparing their bombardment positions. Admiral Ilara stood on her command deck, watching Earth through the view screen. Begin targeting sequence, she ordered. Suddenly, her tactical officer called out, Admiral, human ships approaching. Ilara couldn't believe what she was seeing. Impossible. They don't have space combat capability. But the evidence was right in front of her. 6 human ships were approaching rapidly, moving in a formation that the Kelveri had never seen before. Instead of the strict, organized patterns that Kelveri ships used, the human vessels moved unpredictably, making them difficult targets. Destroy them, Ilara commanded. The space battle revealed another human advantage. While Kelveri ships followed specific battle doctrines developed over centuries, human pilots improvised constantly. Jack Pearson led his small fleet in maneuvers inspired by Earth-air combat, something the Kelveri had never encountered. Target their command ship, Jack ordered. We need to get close enough to upload Dr. Grant's virus. The Defiance took heavy damage as it approached the Kelveri mothership. 2 of the smaller human vessels were destroyed, but they succeeded in creating a gap in the Kelveri defenses. We're in position, Jack said. Uploading the virus now. On the Kelveri command ship, systems began to fail. Screens flickered, weapons went offline, and communication with other ships became impossible. What's happening? Admiral Ilara demanded. The humans have infected our network, her science officer replied, panic in his voice. They're disrupting our command signals. On Earth, Colonel Nichols led her forces into the main Kelveri ground base. With the aliens' coordination disrupted by the virus, Human forces quickly gained the upper hand. Admiral Ilara made her final desperate move. "Prepare the doomsday weapon," she ordered. "If we cannot have this planet, no one will." But even as she gave the command, a message came through from the Kelveri High Command. They had received an unexpected transmission from Earth. A message from Ambassador Zorith explaining Ilara's unauthorized escalation. "Stand down, Admiral," came the voice of Supreme Overlord Vex. "You have exceeded your authority." Ilara's face contorted with rage. "No, I will not accept defeat by primitives." She moved to activate the weapon herself, but Jack Pearson's fleet had done too much damage to her ship. As she reached for the controls, the command deck exploded around her. The explosion on the Kelveri command deck threw Jack Pearson against the wall. He had led a boarding team onto Admiral Ilara's ship after the virus disrupted their systems. They arrived just as Ilara tried to activate the doomsday weapon. "Is everyone okay?" Jack called out, his ears ringing from the blast. Major Kyle Rivera, who had joined the boarding team, checked the other soldiers. "Two injured, but we're all alive." They moved carefully through the smoke to the main control panel. The doomsday weapon had been damaged in the explosion. It would not fire. "Ilara?" Jack asked, looking around the destroyed command deck. Rivera pointed to a still form under fallen debris. "She didn't make it." With their leader dead and their systems compromised, the remaining Kelveri ships began to surrender. On Earth, Colonel Nichols reported similar success. The Kelveri ground forces, cut off from their command network, were laying down their weapons. 1 week later, Director Wood stood in front of the United Nations building. The Kelveri mothership, now under human control, hovered peacefully above. He was there to meet the delegation from the Kelveri High Command, who had arrived to discuss terms. Supreme Overlord Vex stepped off the shuttle. He was larger than the other Kelveri, with ornate markings on his scales and 6 arms instead of 4. Behind him walked Ambassador Zorith, who had been released from his cell to help with negotiations. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you," Director Wood said formally. Vex looked around at the damaged city, then back at Director Wood. "I have come to negotiate the terms of your surrender to the collective." A murmur ran through the human delegation. Director Wood remained calm. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding, Supreme Overlord. Your forces on Earth have surrendered. Your fleet has been defeated." "An unfortunate setback," Vex replied. "But the full might of the collective will arrive soon." Admiral Ilara commanded only a small portion of our forces. Jack Pearson stepped forward. "Supreme Overlord, before we continue, I think you should see something." He activated a tablet showing footage from around the world. Humans using Kelveri technology. Captured Kelveri ships being studied and improved. Dr. Grant explaining how the anti-armor compound worked. "In 6 months, we've learned to use your technology," Jack said. "In some cases, we've improved it. If you send more ships, the result will be the same." For the first time, uncertainty showed in Vex's eyes. He turned to Ambassador Zorith. "Is this true? Can they really use our technology so quickly?" Zorith nodded. "I have seen it myself. These humans learn faster than any species we have encountered. They adapt, they improvise, and they are united now in a way they never were before." Director Wood stepped forward again. "We don't want more war, Supreme Overlord. We want peace. Not surrender, either yours or ours, but true peace between our peoples." The terms were negotiated over several days. The Kelveri would withdraw all military forces from Earth. They would recognize Earth's independence and sovereignty. And most importantly, they would establish trade and cultural exchange with humans as equals, not subjects. On the final day of negotiations, Vex seemed troubled. "In 10,000 years, the collective has never failed to conquer a world we targeted. Our entire society is built on expansion and conquest. Perhaps it's time for a change," Director Wood suggested. "Your people have much to teach us about space travel and technology. We have much to teach you about adaptation and creativity." Ambassador Zorth had changed during his time on Earth. He spoke up now. Supreme Overlord, I have lived among these humans. They could demand revenge for our attack, but instead they offer partnership. This is a strength we have forgotten. As the Kelveri delegation prepared to leave, Supreme Overlord Vex approached Jack Pearson. You were the one who led the attack on Admiral Ilara's ship. Jack nodded. I did what was necessary to protect my world. You fought well, Vex said. All of you fought with a courage we did not expect. Tell me, what is it that makes humans so resilient? Jack thought for a moment. We've had to be. Our history is full of challenges, natural disasters, wars, diseases. We've nearly destroyed ourselves many times. But we always find a way to survive, to adapt, to become better. Vex considered this. The collective has been the unchallenged power in our part of the galaxy for so long, we forgot what it means to struggle. Perhaps that is why we have stagnated. As the Kelveri ships departed Earth's orbit, humans around the world celebrated. Not just the end of the war, but the beginning of a new era. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and had not just survived, but emerged stronger. 1 year after the war ended, Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Cities damaged during the fighting were rebuilt using a mix of human and Kelveri technology. The skylines now featured buildings that seemed to defy gravity, with sections floating above their foundations. Jack Pearson stood on the launch platform at the new International Space Center in Kenya. Before him sat the first true human interstellar ship, the UES Unity. It was larger than the Defiance and incorporated the best of both human and Kelveri engineering. Ready for this? Dr. Olivia Grant asked, joining him at the railing. She would be leading the science team on this historic journey. I've been ready my whole life, Jack replied. I just never thought we'd get to the stars this way. The Unity would travel to the Kelveri homeworld as part of the new alliance. It would be the first human ship to visit another civilization's planet. The crew included scientists, diplomats, and military personnel, but they went as visitors, not conquerors. On the Kelveri homeworld, changes were happening too. Ambassador Zorth had returned home a different person. His experiences on Earth had shown him a new way of thinking. He now led a growing movement for reform within the collective. Our society has been static for too long, Zorth told a gathering of Kelveri citizens. We conquered because we didn't know how to create anymore. The humans have shown us another path. Not all Kelveri agreed. Many still believed in the old ways of expansion and conquest, but the defeated Earth had shaken their confidence. For the first time in thousands of years, the Kelveri were asking questions about their purpose and future. Supreme Overlord Vex had made the most surprising change. After returning from Earth, he had called together the High Command. We have ruled the stars through force for 10,000 years, he told them. And in all that time, we have learned nothing new. These humans mastered our technology in months. They defeated our best admiral with ships built from scraps. We must learn from them before we become obsolete. Colonel Amy Nichols, now General Nichols, had been put in charge of Earth's new defense force. Using the knowledge gained during the war, she trained soldiers to combine human creativity with alien technology. We don't ever want another war, she told her troops. But if it comes, we'll be ready. Major Kyle Rivera led the Joint Human-Kelveri Technology Exchange Program. Teams of engineers from both species worked together, learning from each other. The Kelveri taught humans about advanced physics and materials. Humans taught the Kelveri about innovation and thinking outside rigid patterns. It's amazing how differently our minds work, Rivera told a reporter. They follow logical paths perfectly, while we jump around and make intuitive leaps. Together, we're building things neither of us could create alone. Director Wood had retired from his position at the United Earth Council. Before leaving, he made one final address to the world. A year ago, we faced extinction, he said. Today, we take our place among the stars. We did not win just by fighting harder or being smarter. We won because we remembered what makes us human, our ability to adapt, to work together despite our differences, to face impossible odds with courage and hope. The day the Unity launched, people around the world watched on screens. It rose silently into the sky, its engines glowing with a soft blue light. Jack Pearson, at the helm, felt a sense of pride like nothing he had experienced before. In the depths of space, the ship engaged its faster-than-light drive for the first time. The stars blurred around them as they began their journey to the Kelvary homeworld. 1 month later, representatives from 23 alien civilizations gathered for the Galactic Council meeting. Supreme Overlord Vex stood to address them, with a human delegation seated nearby. For too long, the Kelvary Collective has dominated this region of space through force, Vex said. Today, I wish to introduce our newest allies, who taught us the value of partnership over conquest. The human representatives stood, and the room filled with murmurs. Many of the alien species had heard rumors about the defeat of the mighty Kelvary fleet by a supposedly primitive species. Vex looked around the room, making eye contact with each delegation before continuing. We underestimated humanity, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. Never again will we make that mistake. And neither should you. The other representatives looked at the humans with new respect, and more than a little fear. For the first time in galactic history, a new species had joined the council, not as a conquered race, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars.